saying? 10. I mean, even though we stand alone, we stand together.
Ladies and gentlemen, prepare for landing. Fasten your seatbelts. Thank you for flying Air Force Airlines. Oh, me. Call me the captain. Just blaze.
They say a family that prays together stays together, and one that walks apart just falls apart. So together we stand, divided we fall, united we form Voltron and take on all. Let's move, yes. The birds left the nest. I'm all grown up, I gotta fly with the rest. Best of the best.
Yo, what's up to all you angels and heathens out there?
Angels and heathens.
This is
Let's do this.
This is episode 2 of The Pastor and the Pagan. Of course, he's the pastor.
Yes.
And I'm the pagan
He's...
in this thing we're calling the podcast.
Yes.
This is a very interesting. This is a definitely interesting route we're taking.
Yes.
That after our last show, it's funny because going into it, I didn't know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
I had expectations, but I didn't know what to expect.
Okay.
And if that makes any sense, right? But after doing it, I was like, "Yo, like this is potential." So definitely excited. We said we are going to do a topic per episode, and I think the reason I wanted to do it that way is because if we're doing a show and we're hitting a bunch of topics, and people want to hear a specific topic, it's hard to weed through,
right, to
find what it is you're looking for, as opposed to that episode they're talking specifically about this, so they can just zone in on it a lot easier, right. And it allows us to breathe and deep dive into different things, and we might jump on topics that are related to, but still. So, last time we talked about being unequally yoked. This one I thought was real good. Church hurt.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, this is well within my wheelhouse. Because I feel like a lot of times when people talk about church hurt is, especially at least from my point of view, from the religious side, the response is very pretentious. Like, get over it. That was that church, not my church. And it's like, listen, the reason you don't go to White Castles is because you've been to enough of them and they made you feel like you didn't have to go to every single White Castles for you to be like, you know what, I'm not going to go. You went to 4 or 5 of them,
right? Had
the same reaction,
right?
And was like, you know what, maybe I need to not to go to White Castles. And so it's like, so I feel like for a lot of people, that's how they do with church. And oftentimes the response is, well, just go to mine. It's like, but do you know how many times I've heard that? Do you know how many times I've tried that? Like, how many times I got to keep trying that? How many times I got to put my hand in the stove and get burnt before I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't touch the stove. And so, and I think for a lot of people too, I feel like religious folks, and I know people, let's just say Christians, I feel like there's a lot more talking instead of a lot more walking. Whereas, like, you try to convince people with words, and it's like, I feel like you convince them more with your actions. And so I think it turns into this whole preachy thing, and then it becomes this turnoff because it's like these people are dealing with some hurt. In order for you to reach them, you need to show them that you relate to them first, that you hear them. They need to feel heard and related to before you start trying to offer your solution. You know what I'm saying? If I tell you a problem and your immediate response is an answer, that tells me you didn't really take the time to digest. I am in pain right now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I need you to realize that. I need you to speak to that. And it's not the same as a physical pain where it's like, okay, give me an aspirin. I'm looking for something to make me feel better immediately. With emotional pain, that takes somebody relating to that. Right. You know what I'm saying? And one of the reasons why 2 of my favorite rappers are Tupac and Eminem. Right. Okay. And the reason for that is because those are the 2 people I related to the most. All right. Right. Tupac came from more like the inner city struggle, the black struggle. And so Eminem, it was more specifically. We had the same situation as far as parents. We had the same situation as far as, significant other and having children with them. And things of that nature, and feeling shy and awkward growing up, and realizing your potential as you got older. You know what I'm saying? So there are things that I can relate to, and this is why they can reach. Like, you know, look at the parallel between a Martin Luther King and a Malcolm X.
All right.
The reason, if you go back to the 60s, everybody loved both, right? But Malcolm was more relatable. More people was feeling him at the time because he was relatable. He was speaking to their trauma.
Okay.
Yo, white man pulls a bat on you or a gun on you, pull one on them too. That's more relatable because you speaking to people's anger at that point.
Okay.
As opposed to just turn the other cheek. Anybody's trying to hear that. You know what I'm saying? You got 400 years of pent up frustration. And you want me to turn the other cheek? How many cheeks I got? You know what I'm saying? It's
Okay.
And so I think you reach people more when you can take the time to relate to their pain before you rush to offer them a solution. And so and for most people, it's this rush to a solution of, well, just try my church or just get over it. And I don't think people give enough weight to the pain, because here's the difference between church hurt and most other hurt. You don't go to a hospital expecting to be in more pain.
Right.
I'm not going to the hospital to feel worse. I'm going to the hospital to feel better.
You're saying a whole lot, sir. Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? So when I go to a church, I'm not going there to feel worse. I'm going there to feel better. So when church folks treat me worse than the people on the street, that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because now it's like, yo, I did not expect this. I thought I was going to get Christ-like love, and I'm getting the devil more than I'm getting it out there.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And so that becomes a problem.
Well, let me jump in on some of this.
Yeah.
When you said you was looking for Christ-like love.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try to put all this together based off of what you were saying. You mentioned the word religious. You said that a couple times, and I think that's part of the problem. Like, for example, this is probably gonna sound weird, but as a pastor, I do not consider myself religious.
Yeah.
Okay, religious is when you start dealing with the
piety.
organized pattern of religion. You know what I'm saying? That is just almost like I don't want to say a structure, but it's like a structure, and it's got to be like this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's where the Pharisees and Sadducees missed it at.
Yeah.
Because when Jesus showed up, they would say things, well, the law of Moses says this.
Right.
But not realizing Jesus is like, no, I'm here to bring relationship.
Yeah.
And so a lot of times folks get hurt in church
Yeah.
because of church rules and regulations and the way they were implemented.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certain things where people get hurt like that. You mentioned about going to like 4 or 5 White Castles to realize this ain't for me.
Yeah.
Well, let's use that same example. Okay, if you realize White Castles is not for you, there is a such thing as Burger King. There's a such thing as McDonald's. There's a such thing as Wendy's.
Yeah.
There's a such thing as Coney Islands, and I use those for examples because White Castles sell hamburgers.
Yeah.
Well, all those other restaurants do. So maybe White Castles don't fit you,
Yeah.
but don't stop eating.
I don't appreciate you flipping my analogy.
I'm just saying, that's your analogy. I'm going to flip it on you. Don't stop eating just because you had a bad experience
I feel you.
at White Castle. Hey, why
Touche.
don't you try,
Yeah.
you know, what is it, Checkers?
Yeah.
Why don't you try Wendy's? Maybe, you're right, maybe White Castles didn't fit for you.
Yeah.
Like there are some churches as a pastor I know wouldn't fit for me.
Right.
And I'm a pastor.
Right.
I already know. It ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Sometimes I preach and stuff like this. That's not going to work probably in certain churches.
Yeah, a lot of people.
You know?
You not wear a tie and a.
Yeah, it may not fit, but that don't mean I give up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
even if you've had some church hurt, maybe it did not work in Baptist, maybe it did not work in Lutheran, maybe it didn't work in non-denominational, maybe it didn't, but you don't give up, you know, on the concept of serving God because you dealt with some hurt here. You know, you said you don't go to the hospital to feel more pain.
Yeah.
You go there to feel well. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Well, there are some hospitals where it's like when you in pain, you just need to get to the closest one.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Let me get this done now. Whether I stay here, I may not. You know,
Right.
A friend of ours had a motorcycle accident a few years ago,
Okay.
and they took him to a particular hospital, and the doctors pretty much gave up on him.
Mm-hmm.
But the family said, no, let's try another hospital.
Yeah.
And they took him. I'm glad you wearing. I like the drip you got on with the,
Yeah, you too.
thank
Great
you.
minds think alike.
Yeah. And they took him to the greatest hospital on this side of heaven, the Hospital
Blue.
of University of Michigan, and they were able to save his life.
Yeah.
So the family could have said, oh, well. They said, no, we're not going to give up. Let's just try another hospital.
Yeah.
And if they didn't try another hospital, man, I feel like preaching right now. And hopefully he's listening. Jeff, yeah, hopefully you're listening.
I don't know how you stay at the hospital too. It's just a bunch of guys in lab coats and bags.
You know what? But they was about to give up on him.
Yeah.
But yet the family said, okay, let's try another hospital. Let's not just give up on all hospitals and give up on him.
Yeah.
Let's try another hospital. And they went to another hospital, and praise God, Jeff is here today.
Well, I will push back and say, and I like what you said. That was tip of the hat to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. I'm trying.
But pushback would be that is like hospitals, or at least most people will look at it as they are a public need, right?
Okay.
As opposed to like a religion is a preference.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
You the pagan. Go ahead.
Yeah. So
Go ahead.
You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like I would continue. Like obviously, like this hospital can suck, but you're right. I'm not gonna say, well, I'm not gonna go to any hospital ever.
Right.
Right. Whereas a religion is more so like for me personally, okay, that's a preference, right? Because it's a lifestyle, it's a belief system, it's a lot of things, and so while I might not necessarily have to subscribe to religion, I can subscribe to some other thing that has a moral code, and whatnot, and so. But I like how you flipped that analogy. That was real good. Yeah. And I think for me too, like once again using myself as an example, like growing up, like I had probably more people talking more trash about me in the church than I did outside.
You?
Yeah.
You?
Oh yeah, no, but here's the thing.
Look what happened when I started one.
Man, that's a whole episode by itself.
The heathens was happy for me.
Hey.
The church was.
Woo, boy.
Go ahead.
Man.
Go ahead.
But no, like, because, for me, so I grew up broken home.
Sure.
Victim of abuse. Was in youth homes and whatnot. And so when you go through that as a kid, you feel unvalued. You don't feel love. And there's a lot of anger. Like, I remember one time I was in school and I was in, what was it? The Boy Scouts. And it was at Coba Hall. And everybody was there. And it was like, all right, get with your dads and we're going to learn how to, make a tent. I was the only kid that did not have a father. And that was the first time it was really brought to my attention. And I was like 8.
Yeah.
And I could not stop sobbing. And it was just like I cried for 3 hours.
Gotcha.
Right? Like to the point where I didn't have no more water in my body. Like I was dehydrated from just crying. And I remember my best friend and his father, they finally was like, come with us. And this is why we have the relationship we have now. And so having all that and then coming to a church and not knowing, at this point, at this stage of the game, I had just come out the youth home and we were going to a church. My aunt was the secretary. And so at this point, I'm just like angry. I'm 10, 11. And like, I mean, real talk, I felt like at that point, like I lived a life more than some people twice my age I lived at that point. Right. And so I was just kind of like, whatever. Because it was like, there's nothing more that you can do to me than has already been done.
Yeah.
I'm angry, I'm bitter, and my outlook, I was very pessimistic. And so it was like, whatever. And I just was angry.
Yeah.
I didn't feel valued. As a kid, you don't realize this, right? I can say this now as an adult, having thought about it. But as a kid, I'm just like, whatever. Yeah. And it took you, Nardo, Tony, to get on me. And I remember this, too. Even as a kid, I remember being like, you know what? They care. Because y'all were the first people that I had people get mad at me for doing wild stuff. But y'all anger was more disappointment. It wasn't just rage. It was like, man, we see potential in you and you not living up to it. Yep. Y'all took the time to understand, though, too. Right. That, like, like, he's a good kid. He's just been through a lot. Yeah. A lot of people just saw bad kid. Right. And didn't want me around their kids and just had. And here's the thing about, I call myself Bruce Wayne because, Batman. Yeah. He's a detective. Right. He pays attention to everything, which is why you can't pull nothing on him. Right. Sure. And so being at the church 24/7, right? I saw people outside of Wednesday and Sunday. That church wasn't soundproof. I heard things that I probably wasn't supposed to hear. Right. Everybody saying, thank you, Jesus on Sunday and saying F you on Tuesday. You know what I'm saying? Right. I seen I seen some blow ups at the church. Right. Woo! But point is, you know what I'm saying? Like, I heard things that I wasn't supposed to hear, and I knew how people felt about me specifically. And so now it's funny because I think even you would notice, like, how I interact with certain folks. Because, like, now that I glowed up, you know, and they see what I've done, and, you know, in sneakers and just with my life in general, not everybody wants to be your friend. Not everybody wants to say, yeah, I always knew, and da-da-da. I'm like, no, you didn't. No, you didn't. Because like, once again, I never once felt like, yo, he can't come to my house, or, you know, like, I never once felt like you, no matter what I did, even getting arrested at Cedar Point, which will be a whole episode by itself.
Goodness. Y'all,
even that, like,
who gets arrested at Cedar Point?
Who gets arrested on that?
That's how much of a heathen he was.
I do.
Go ahead.
I wear that as a badge of honor, but no. So
supposed to be eating my elephant ears, and this poo shite.
God forbid I get between him and his elephant ears. Right?
It's the devil.
That's what you was mad about.
No.
So all these years, I thought you was mad that I did that elephant ear. Right? I will buy you an elephant ear. Man.
Go ahead.
The most ignorant conversation. But no,
You got arrested at Cedar Point. Okay.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And so, even with that being said, I remember everybody's reaction. Like, yo, like, people were done after that. You, Randy, Tony, Nardo. Still, y'all was mad. Y'all didn't switch up at all.
Right.
I was still invited to the house.
Yep.
I was still with y'all.
Watching wrestling.
Man, I missed all that. Man, Monday nights would never be the same.
No.
But no, so it was, and I appreciated that because
the Spanish announcement table.
Man, I'm telling you.
You always sit there. They tore up the table.
No matter what the pay-per-view was, that table was not going to be standing by the end of that show. Like, I swear, you know, at some point, I don't know which match is going to be.
It's like, why do you always mess with the Spanish announcement
And my
table?
man always faded the same way. Always the same way, man. It was the funniest.
Nobody else on table but the Spanish announcement. Go ahead.
Man, oh my God. We need to do an episode on that.
Yeah.
But no, and it was, but y'all never treated me any differently. Yeah, like I said, yeah, y'all got on me. Yeah, y'all were upset, rightfully so. But it wasn't like, I don't want you no more. Like, and I dealt with a lot of that because once again, when you're a kid, you angry, you don't understand. You just lashing out.
Sure.
And so people never took the time to understand the why. They just saw the what. And
So let's turn down left field though, because you said something, but you missing something.
what's that?
Think about it.
Yeah.
You said the church hurt, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of times what people will do, they will focus on the hurt
Yeah.
instead of the blessing.
Uh-huh.
Notice the names that you're saying.
Yeah.
The people that was in your life.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys you view as fathers.
Yeah.
Where'd you meet them at?
I met him at the church.
What came out of it? Came out of church. Thank you. Follow where I'm going with
Terry,
this.
I'm gonna need you to quit flipping what I said
I'm just
and making
using
valid
your
points that I can't argue against.
I'm just saying. See, you focused on the bad things that
Yeah.
came out the church.
Yeah.
But not really paying attention of what good did come
'Cause
out
you know why?
of going to church.
I mean, know why? You know why? Because it's like being kidnapped and being like, well, you know, they did put me through college. I was still kidnapped. You know what I'm saying? Like, you
But
know,
wait a minute.
Yeah, I went to
You
college.
just told a story about how your father wasn't there.
Yeah,
But by being in church, you gained two fathers.
that's true.
You went from not having not even
it, Terry.
one.
I
to
hate the fact
having
that you're making valid points I can't argue against. I want to argue.
two. To this
No,
day,
I-
you view Nardo and Tony as fathers.
I do.
Shout out to Leonardo Rafer. Shout out to Moses.
I know.
Coleman.
Don't pay attention to that shout out. I know I gave you a backhand compliment the last episode. I'm shouting you out now. I'm giving you your flowers.
Shout you out. But look what came out. And that's what
Yeah.
we tend to do. A lot of times, even in life, we focus on the bad stuff. And this is one of the things I tend to say when I'm preaching.
Yeah.
I said a lot of times we spend so much time trying to climb the mountain that sometimes we need to stop and look down the mountain to see how far we have actually come. And so you're looking at it as far as the pain
Yeah.
instead of not realizing the blessing.
Look, I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you. You're making valid points. Right?
Thank you,
And
sir.
I want that. I want
All
that
right.
to be known.
All right.
However, we would have never gotten to James Brown or Michael Jackson had we not been brought over here as black people, right?
Okay.
I'm happy to have a James Brown or Michael Jackson, one of my favorite two artists.
Okay.
That don't, at the same time, I hate slavery. You know what I'm saying? I hate the fact that we had to go through that.
Okay.
Now, had we not had that, we would have never been brought over here, and who's to say we would have had either one of them?
Thank you.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you.
However, I'm still mad that I had to be a slave for 400 years. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's still, it sucks.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's like, yeah, you're right. There's a silver lining. There's, so I get what you're saying. Like, you're right.
And see, one of the things I want to say on that, when people say about church hurt, yes, church hurt is real. But you know what? People never focus in on how pastors have church hurt.
Oh, for sure.
I don't think nobody really think about.
Oh, so that's its own episode.
That's a whole nother episode.
That's its own episode.
We always talk about the members, but we never talk about
Save
the
that one.
pastors,
Save that
the
one.
sacrifices they've made and
Save
the
that one.
degrees they have and the amount of money. Man, I wish somebody would tell me I'm pastoring for the money. I make less now than what I did when I was a supervisor at Chrysler.
Man,
I make half. You think I'm in it for the money?
Conversations. No,
okay, that's a whole nother thing.
Say those.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
I can go on a tangent on both.
But see, the thing is, when people say church hurt, yes, it's real. You may have gotten hurt by that church.
Yeah.
But you don't give up on God. See what I'm saying? You don't give up on
But you can
on
understand
God.
why they would, though.
Yes, but see, here's the thing, okay?
Yeah.
We emphasize church hurt.
Yeah.
Okay, what about your Wal-Mart hurt? Hold on, you understand? What about your Kroger hurt? I'm just saying. But you still go back to Kroger. You still go back to Walmart. You know what I'm saying? Come on, man. Come on, man. And you know I'm telling the truth.
Listen.
You still go back to all them other places. They done ripped you off. They didn't even give you your change back or whatever. You know what I'm saying? False advertisement, but you still go back.
The reason
McDonald's don't even cook your food the way you wanted it, but you still would get into another drive-through line, sit there 20 minutes.
Hold on.
Come on.
Hold on. 'Cause I got tears in
You
my
know
eyes.
I'm right. You know I'm right.
The reason I'm laughing so hard is because I thought you was going to make a right-hand turn and you made a left one.
I left at
I
Albuquerque.
did not, yes. When I tell you I did not see that coming.
But that's real, though.
You said Walmart hurt. The phrase alone is like, what? Like, is that a thing? Somebody Google that. Like,
Google that.
like, dog,
Might be on Wikipedia.
that might explain why I haven't been to Walmart. Like, now that you mention it, like, you know what I'm saying?
Come on.
I ain't been to church or Walmart in years. So.
You got hurt on your job, but you keep going back.
Because they pay me.
Gotta pay you. He taking care of you, putting breath in your body and all that stuff, man. He putting breath in your body, allowing you to wake up. Watch this. You've really got more work hurt than you have church hurt, but you still go back to work.
Oh,
You,
man.
the boss talk to you any old kind of way. You done get rolled up. You done get days off. Some of y'all done got
T-shirt.
fired. Come on. Some of y'all done got fired. They got the union, got your job back. But you keep going back. But you keep going back. But when it come down to church hurt, you completely done. But yet, God is the one putting breath in your body. God is the one that woke you up. God is the one that gave you activity of your limbs. God is the one that's allowing your blood to flow, and you're going to allow, this bad church or this bad person at the church.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I got people in my church when it's all said and done. I remember one time somebody asked me about somebody that was attending my church. Mm-hmm. They had some heathen ways. And somebody said, why would you let them join your church? I said, where else they going to go? This is where they need to be at. You see what I'm saying? This is where they need to be at. Meaning, no, these folks got
That's
issues.
such a ridiculous
And they
question.
realize they got issues.
But that's a ridiculous question. Nobody looks at a patient and says, why you let them come to this hospital?
Exactly.
Like, where else would they go?
Exactly. They got issues. They got problems. And see, and can I take a quick segment on that?
Hey.
At the end of the day, you probably will suffer some church hurt because some of the people in church, matter of fact, a lot of people in church, they got issues. They got problems. What do you think is going to happen when you have a room full of people that got issues and problems? You're going to, everybody not going to be Christ-like. They on the edge. You don't even know what they went through this week.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate you may have gotten the blunt of what they was dealing with, but just like you got issues, they got issues. Some of them don't even know where their next meal coming from. Some of them you have no idea what their story really is, and it's unfortunate that, sometimes, we deal with each other the wrong way, but they all got problems as well. Don't give up on what God instituted as the church.
Here's what I would say, though, and I agree with everything you're saying, because I do believe there's two sides to a coin.
Yep.
However, what I need this is the problem I think that most people have with church folk.
Phony.
Very much.
Okay.
And the lack of self-inventory, right?
Okay.
Because a lot of people want to sit up here and talk about how sanctified and saved they are, how filled they are with the Holy Ghost. And my problem always has been, if you're that spiritual, if you got that much Holy Ghost, if God is talking to you that much, he ain't telling you about yourself. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's real.
People love talking
That's
about
real.
God when it's, oh, he's glorifying me. He gave me a job promotion.
Right.
But people really talk about, you know what? He humbled me on this.
Yeah.
Or he checked me on this.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody wants to seem flawless, right?
Sure.
And so that was always my issue. Once again, going back to me specifically, I was a kid. I'm 10, 11.
Right.
I got grown adults.
Right.
Shouting and praising God every Sunday.
Right.
Talking the most trash Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yep.
And I'm like, so at no point in time, with all this God that's being spread around, with all this God in you, he didn't tell you, you know what, that little kid has been through a lot. How about you go over there and put your arm around him? You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I'm looking like, okay, well, and luckily I'm the way I am. And this is why, you know, people, and I think you would attest to this, I'm probably one of the most rebellious people you know, right? And I'm happy about being that. And the reason I'm happy about being that is because instead of buying into what people were saying, I rebelled against it.
Okay.
This is why I relate to Michael Jordan so much.
Okay.
Is because, you know, when he was in the documentary, he was like, you know, I took that personal.
Oh,
yeah, I took it personal.
Sure.
I took it I remember telling myself this. I'm going to outdo every last person. Don't know how, but that was my life mission. I'm about to outdo you. I'm about to run laps around y'all. Whatever your career is, mine's going to be better. I'm about to make more money than you, all this other stuff. And I use that as my fuel. It's like, you know, the water boy is my tackling fuel.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so that's what I did. That was my motivation. And I tell people all the time, I'm externally motivated. Most people, or some people, are internally motivated. They find it within themselves. Once again, like a Michael Jordan, I will make up something. You know what I'm saying? I will make up something you said just so I can like give myself that extra gear to do whatever it is. And it's like, I personally need that. And so that's what I took. I mean,
let me ask you this question.
What's that?
Where'd your motivation come from?
Where'd my motivation come from?
Where did it come from? What you just said.
Oh, that was already in me?
Where'd it come from?
I mean,
Church.
No, because I was always like that before
church. No, you just said. You just said it. You said you was motivated. Like, I'm going to make more money than this person. No, because watch this. Because of what you dealt with. And I'm not saying it's a good thing, but I'm just saying.
Even before I got to church, though, I was always the like people would tell me, like, you can't do this.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha.
And I would just, like, prove them wrong. Right.
Okay.
And so before even church, like, that was just how I was wired. Because, once again, I think I know everything. Right. So it's just like.
Which he does. He think he know everything.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And so it's just like, you know what? Nah, I'm going to prove you wrong. And even if I fail, it's like, at least I could say, okay, now I know that did not work. Now, that's foolish in the grand scheme of things, because you can just avoid wasting your own time, money, resources, whatever, and doing something that somebody who is wiser than you, who's done it, can tell you, right?
Yeah.
I can avoid a lot of pitfalls. The analogy I always give is, there was a friend of mine, Larry. He lives somewhere around here, right?
Okay.
Where I live.
Okay.
And he will always head to work. He would leave before I did. And he will always call me if there was a traffic jam or something going on. And that helped me out because it allowed me to avoid that traffic jam.
Okay.
And that's how I look at life. It's like, you being older than me, having more experience than me, you're like Larry.
Okay.
You lived it.
Okay.
So you are ahead of me as far as age and as far as experience. So you can see that I'm headed down this way and can say, hey, there's a traffic jam up there. And I can get off the freeway and avoid that traffic jam that you got stuck in.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's how I look at life. And so that's why I listen now.
All right.
Like, I can get to my destination faster if I just avoid those traffic jams. Instead of just thinking I know the route. I can listen to people that's been down that route.
Okay.
And so, but when I was younger, it was always like I had to test it in order for me to believe it. But that's part of being young, right?
Right.
And foolish.
Sure.
And so But even with that being said, I had that innate thing in me where it was like, I'm going to do things my own way.
Mm-hmm.
And if you tell me I can't do something, I'm going to prove to you that I can. The only reason I played basketball is somebody told me I couldn't. Right? I was at a summer camp, and it was like, you can't play. And I was like, what? And I just went out there, because in my mind, I'm like, put the ball in the basket. Like, it ain't that hard. And, I wasn't that good at it, but I was better than I thought I was, having never played it.
Okay.
And so, and I just got better and better and better the more I played, obviously. But for me, like I said, taking that attitude, I just applied it to what people were saying. Like, oh, you'll never be anything. You're going to be a bum. You're going to be living with your aunt for your rest of your life, and da-da-da-da. Got you. You know what I'm saying? Got you. Okay. Mental note.
Okay.
And so that's why when I come back around those same folks,
you trying to stunt on everybody? You
Hey,
trying to stunt?
Yeah. Oh, man, we're so proud of you. Oh, we always knew. Hey, can you give me those Jordans?
Right.
No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Even if I could.
Right. Okay.
No.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm.
But even then, with the concept of the church hurt,
Yeah.
you can't. There's a phrase that says, "Hurt people hurt people."
Yeah.
And that's a real concept. That there is a thing called church hurt.
Yeah.
And I believe that's a trick of the enemy to use that to keep folks away from God.
But
I think that's a smoke screen.
I don't know if it's more of a trick of an enemy or just unwillingness to actually take inventory of what people are doing in the church. Once again, you can't say that you're led by a spirit or that supernatural this and supernatural that, and then not have self-awareness. Okay. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what bothers a lot of people is, okay.
Well, that's the thing. Put it like this, and I think that's you posed a good point, because one of the first messages Jesus even preached was about your behavior. It's called the Beatitudes. First thing he started dealing with is people's attitudes. And this is why Jesus had to show up, because a lot of stuff, was based off of the law.
Yeah.
You understand? Where you just got to do this and do that.
Yeah.
But folks' attitudes wasn't right. Their hearts wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? So Jesus had to show up like, look, whatever with all that.
Yeah.
Like he said, I didn't come to do away with the law, but to fulfill it. Y'all missing some stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, we got to deal with these hearts. We
Yeah.
got to deal with this behavior issue. We got to deal with living right. You know what I'm saying? Stuff
Yeah.
like that or whatever. So when it's all said and done, it's unfortunate. You know what I'm saying? But
Yeah.
let's use this example, okay?
Yeah.
Because I know you're into sports and stuff like that. You might go to the Ford Field and you might sit next to a crazy fan,
Yeah.
and they might be offensive to you.
Yeah.
Do you give up on ever going back
Oh, for
to?
sure.
You see what I'm saying? Do you ever
Is it
give
the
up?
Lions?
It's like,
'Cause I for sure I have.
wait a minute,
Sure.
whoa.
There's
Don't
Lions hurt.
disrespect the
There's a
Lions.
Lions hurt.
Don't disrespect
There's
the
a such
Lions
thing as
now.
Lions hurt. They've been hurting us since the 80s.
Don't disrespect the Lions. I got them going 12-5 this year.
Okay.
12-5.
And that's
but the
different than
thing
last year.
is, you still will go back to the game.
I ain't.
Well, you will. If it's the Pistons, we'll go there.
Hey, I'm like old
when,
girl.
when Ben Wallace and them was
Listen.
playing, come on now.
No,
if
I'm like Whoopi Goldberg in The Color Purple. Until y'all do right by me.
Oh my
Until
goodness.
y'all do right by me.
Do y'all hear this heathen right
Do
here?
y'all until y'all do right.
Do y'all
I have
hear
paid,
this heathen?
I have paid for tickets and been let down. I have made bets that I should not have made.
Look at you.
Until y'all do right by me.
See, you know what?
I'm not going back to another game.
You know the point I'm talking about. The
I
simple
know.
fact, you don't give up on your team just because you sat next to a bad fan.
Agreed.
Just because the usher spoke to you any old kind of way. You just going to stop being a Chicago Bulls fan because you went to the United Stadium and, the usher didn't talk to you right. It's like,
But once again,
no, it's still my
expectations.
team.
Once again, expectations. When I go to a game, I know it's going to be some jerk that's drunk, getting loud and rowdy, whatever. I don't have the same expectations going into a church as I do a football game, right? I don't expect to be heckled at church.
True.
You know what I'm saying? Or
True.
bothered. And so, and that to me is like the inherent difference. And it's funny because, I think you mentioned in the last episode, or maybe you said it earlier in this episode, where even Jesus asked, what do people say about me?
Yeah.
Even Jesus took inventory
Sure.
of what was
Sure.
being said. And I'm like, once again, I think for a lot of people who aren't in the church, they see people as being holier than thou and got their nose in the air. And sometimes how you come across can rub people the wrong way.
Sure.
And it's like, and that to me is the biggest turnoff for a lot of people that will otherwise come to church.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying? Or even give it a second chance, is how they feel people are, and I mean, but you see that with any company, with any brand, they have a PR team, right? Because they recognize how things look.
Yeah.
Plays just as much of a factor as what they are.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think for churches, and I agree with you, people at church are human just like the rest of us.
Yep.
They are entitled to having a bad day just like the rest of us.
Yep.
But take some inventory. Have some self-awareness, especially if you're going to prop yourself up as some type of beacon of light, as some type of moral compass, as some type of thing that is being led by something bigger than you, something spiritual or whatever. If you got all this supernatural power flowing within you, I would like to think one of those superpowers is self-awareness. And
well, what did Jesus say? One of the first things he told the disciples.
What's that?
Okay, he said, if you're going to come after me, the first thing you're going to have to do is deny you.
But I don't think enough people deny themselves.
And that's the issue.
There you go.
He said, if you're going to be like me, if you're going to be Christ-like, the first thing you're going to have to deal with is you.
Yeah.
You got to deal with you. He didn't say first thing you got to do is fight the devil.
Yeah.
First thing you got to do,
Right.
you know, is get some oil and lather it all up.
This ain't like
said,
Cobra Kai. With
right.
Training, you know what I'm saying?
The first thing he said is, you're going to have to deal with you.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? He said you have to deal with you.
Because there's a such thing as church politics.
Oh, definitely.
Definitely. Anytime, and I always say this all the time because people, you know, we barter the union and people always talk bad about the union. And I'm like, okay, you do realize anytime there's money and power to be had, there's corruption.
Yeah.
Or potential for corruption.
Yeah.
Right? And the church is no different.
Right.
But I think part of avoiding that is self-awareness.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And so it's like being more self-aware allows you to take stock of how you're moving, how you're coming across to people. And because once again, like, okay, for example, chillins, right?
Okay.
People love chillins for some reason.
I don't know if everybody like them.
Okay, well, there's a lot of people, right? I have yet to be a Black House on Thanksgiving and not be in the menu.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because of the smell, I would never, and I mean never, try chillins.
Me too.
I would never.
Because of the smell. I can't get close enough.
It could be the most delicious thing I have ever had. You know why I would never know?
I can't.
Because the smell.
Yes.
And a lot of these people are like chillins.
Yeah.
The smell they give off, you could be the holiest person on the planet, but because you stink, I'm never going to try you.
And this is why we have to get away from the concept of religion and get off into relationship. You see what I'm saying? Because when you start having a relationship with God,
How do you separate the two? I mean, it's easy to say, but I don't think how do you divorce religion from church?
Well, what is religion? It's an organized belief system.
But isn't that church?
Church is your mosque. It's your synagogue.
Right. I'm
it's
just
your
saying,
tabernacle.
I'm saying church just because, you know, obviously you're a Christian. I grew up.
And I would say that's what religion is.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I got to be careful saying this.
Yeah.
Because what religion does.
Don't climb that chimney.
Yeah. Here we go. What religion does, it keeps you locked in to this.
Yes.
Relationship says, okay, this is where God was. He has moved from that.
Yeah.
Okay. So when Jesus showed up, Jesus basically came saying, I'm trying to get y'all into relationship. Y'all still stuck, okay, on what God did and what he said.
Yeah.
There's been, watch this, it's been some maturity. There's been some growth. We got to move from this organized structure.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And we've got to move into relationship. There'll be times where when you start talking about walking by faith, where you would have to sit back and say, that's so far off the radar.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
But it lines up with God, if that makes sense.
It's funny. I remember when, once again, it's funny the things you remember. Like, I remember when, you know, first started going to First Baptist. One of the first themes that your father would preach was breaking the paradigms.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
And, you know, and I remember, like, thinking, like, that was such an interesting thing because, like, you're right, because I think people get so caught up in tradition. Yeah.
Get caught up in that box.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's like, but the world moves past you.
Yeah.
And then you find yourself not being able to relate to the world around you.
Yeah.
And, you know, and so, yeah, I mean, I agree with you.
And so that comes down to relationship. Just like this, for example, there was a passage of scripture where it talks about how this woman was caught in the very act of adultery.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they brought her to Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And they said this. Now here's Jesus. They brought her to Jesus and they basically tried to throw religion in Jesus' face. They said, the law of Moses says.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And they
There you
said
go.
that. And then they basically said to Jesus, what do you say? Jesus said, okay, if y'all trying to go that route, he that's without sin, throw the first stone.
That's what makes Jesus so interesting to me. That part right
Because
there.
he was off the hook.
No, Jesus,
He was
Jesus
off the
was actually
chain.
deep.
He was that dude. Yeah,
Jesus was actually deep because he got past the okie doke because he knew what he was trying to do,
Yep.
right? And to their point, they were technically right? The rules say this, right? And I think that's how our church folks act like. I think there's a lot more Pharisees than disciples.
Yeah.
But that's such like I think people gloss over that in our story because it just sounds good. It's nice. He without us, and I don't think they really dive into the mentality he had.
Yeah.
Where, like you said, here's the traditions, but Jesus was like, I think people treat the Bible like the Constitution. You got people who are like, no, the Constitution can never be changed. This is how it is. But the Constitution was written like, what, 1770 something? Mm-hmm. So we're living in 2023. Mm-hmm. The world has changed since then. There were things that they could not foresee.
Sure.
That we're now living in, like the internet. There's no law for the internet because it didn't exist back then.
Exist.
You know, even the Second Amendment, right?
Yeah.
Back then, with the strongest gun they had was a musket.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Now we got like machine guns and all types of weaponry, and so they couldn't foresee that, right? So they couldn't make laws to, you know what I'm saying? And so what's interesting about Jesus is that he came, like I said, he didn't get a bunch of priests to be his disciples. He got a bunch of regular people to be his disciples. And he challenged the status quo, right? Like, yeah, okay, the law says this, but I mean, if we're going to do that, then, I mean, you didn't break any of them laws, my G.
There you go. And then here's the part that's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's why Jesus is just that guy.
Jesus was smooth. As somebody who does not go to church, I do have to admit, Jesus was, I could see myself hanging with Jesus.
Wow.
I really could.
See? Somebody, I'm going to get back to top, but somebody, we had this thing, people was going around asking questions like, who, if you had one person to hang out with, who would it be? And everybody was naming people and stuff like that. So they got to me. They said, okay, Pastor, who would you hang out with? I said, Rick James. You know?
Yo.
Everybody was like, what?
Real quick.
They was like, Pastor, we thought you was going to say Jesus.
There's a show called Bus Tours. Watch that Rick James episode.
Oh, good.
It is the wildest episode.
But watch this. The thing is with Jesus is that they came, the Bible says she got caught in the very act. If she got caught in the very act,
yes,
where's the person she was with? So you can't pick and choose how you want to
think of that.
Thank you. You see what I'm saying?
That's why I like
but
the
see,
show.
this is where folks miss it at in the church.
Yep.
Okay? Like you said, you did your thing
They
or
didn't
whatever.
bring both of them. They just brought her.
Just like this, and I might get in trouble for this. I am against, okay?
Yeah.
Bringing folks before the church to apologize for their wrongdoing.
Man.
Okay? And that's where a lot of some folks dealt with that church hurt because especially a lot of young girls that may have gotten pregnant and they were not married and had to come before the church and apologize.
Yes.
Okay? My question is, what about the deacon? That may have gotten her. Okay, that's a whole nother conversation. What about the preacher? Or what about, somebody in the choir? See, we rate sins.
The choir director was always gay.
Oh, no, he didn't. He said that, y'all. he just said,
Name me a straight choir director. Name me one. You know what I'm saying?
We not going there.
Even Kirk Franklin. I'm
no, don't you? That's him.
I don't know.
That's him. Don't cancel us. Don't cancel us. But watch this.
A grown man wearing lip gloss. I don't know. I wear chapstick, but that would be glossy. That's gloss.
But listen, we the ones that rate sins.
Yes.
Okay? And I got my whole spin on the whole story.
Yeah.
Okay? I can't prove it, but sometimes I like to put, Terry version on it. You know what I'm saying? Terry version on it.
Yeah.
Oh, so y'all gonna bring her before Jesus. Why? Because she turned you down?
Yo!
You see what I'm saying? Oh, maybe she turned you down. And that's why you want to bring her before Jesus. And then, okay,
my brain just
if she got caught in the very act, where's the other person or the other people? It's 2023.
Right.
This could have been a whole nother, group. You know what I'm saying? You got all kinds of stuff going on.
I can just imagine that. Like, what you mean, though? Hey, take her to Jesus.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
you know what I'm saying?
So
like, yeah,
you bring her before Jesus.
that's
Think
deep.
about it. You know what I'm saying? So this is where the concept of religion.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? That was a religious move right there.
Yeah.
Y'all brought her, but you didn't bring everybody else.
Yeah.
Or whoever she was with.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this thing that if she was caught in the very act, she probably was really naked, covered up in a sheet.
Yeah.
Where's the person that was with her? See, this religion got this structure. Well, this is what we gonna do.
Yeah.
But where's the other person? Relationships say, Jesus says, you know what? I'm
not playing y'all games.
I'm gonna handle this. You go and sin no more. You know, your sins are forgiven. I got you.
Jesus was the type of person that thought outside the box. And I laugh because I feel like if Jesus existed now, people in the church would treat him a lot differently.
They might have treated him worse.
They probably would.
They probably would treat him worse because there's too much going on right now. It's a lot of stuff that Jesus would not approve of that's going on right now.
Definitely going to have that conversation.
But see, watch this. You ready?
Yeah.
We got a lot of people that's saying, I'm about to get in trouble, that God said this and God said this. And God might be saying, hold on. Y'all put my name on stuff that I didn't say?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
God is like, wait a minute, don't put my name on. I didn't say that.
Hey.
So it might be a lot of stuff.
God like, yo, the views expressed.
Oh.
not necessarily reflect.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But church hurt is real.
Yeah.
You know, and I hate that people deal with it, but people have to get beyond that.
Yeah.
You gotta get beyond it and seek God. And that's why Jesus was on that cross and had to say, Father, forgive them. Because they don't know. They don't know what they're doing. I'm here to help them. They don't even realize, watch this, the blessing that's in front of their face. Yeah. They don't even realize who I really am. And the same thing with you. The folks that mistreated you and did you wrong. They don't even realize what he's going to become. They don't realize how successful he's going to be. They don't even realize your pain, your hurt that you have caused him is going to be motivation. It's going to push him. And what you should have did, you should have reached in your pocket and gave him money. You should have did this and hung out with him. You should have did this. You know, the Bible says we're supposed to be blessed to be a blessing.
Right.
And a lot of times folks are not being a blessing. But at the same time, the Bible talks about how the wheat and the tare are going to grow together.
Yeah.
So you're going to have some bad people in church, but they need to get right.
Right.
And it's unfortunate that sometimes, you know, folks have had to deal with folks.
And that also applies to you former Wal-Mart employees and shoppers. You lady at the register, you did not know. What you did.
I saw a lady yesterday that dealt with some Family Dollar hurt. She ain't have enough money, you know, and had to put almost everything back. Ain't got nothing to do with
Family Dollar. That's Wally hurt.
They got. My thought was, it's Family Dollar. How much did you really bring? You know, and so her and the lady at the register, they started getting into it, and the lady at the register was like, "Next time, count your money, baby."
It's funny. And somebody asked me, because this happened at work. Because black people got this thing where we start clapping our hands.
Yeah, yeah.
And this white dude was like, "Why is he clapping his hands?" I'm like, "He warming his hands up. Like, you about to throw them. That's what, like, you priming them. You know what I'm saying? Like, you start your lawnmower, right. You prime it." I'm like, it's funny because I saw a clip the other day too, where it was this black lady. They like Popeyes had some type of deal going on, and they ran out of chicken. And she's mad. She's in the drive-thru yelling at the thing. How am I supposed to feed my kids? It's like, yo, like,
whoa.
Just because Popeyes run out of chicken, that doesn't mean that you don't have, like, your kids can go somewhere else to eat. Why is Popeyes responsible for your brats?
And that's what I want to say on this segment. You may have had church hurt, but don't disregard all churches.
And I feel like we're talking to two different audiences, but at the same time, because you're talking to the people that were hurt, I'm talking to the people that actually did the hurt. Take some inventory.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Have some self-awareness. Yeah. Even if you don't think you did anything, reflect back and say, you know what, even though I did not intend.
Yeah.
Because there are people that could tell a joke, they're trying to be funny and not intending to hurt.
Right.
But at the same time, it wasn't funny to somebody and it offended somebody.
Yeah.
And so I think to take some inventory and say, you know what, even though I didn't mean it this way, could it have come off as this to somebody? Could it have turned somebody off? Could it have offended somebody or hurt somebody? And I think, you know what I'm saying, I think that's a powerful position, especially if you're going to be somebody in the church, and especially if you're somebody who has a leadership position within the church, because I feel like it's more onus and responsibility on those types of people.
Sure.
And so I think the more self-reflection on both sides.
Yeah. Can I read something real quick?
Go ahead.
This is Apostle Paul, and he's talking about a letter he had to write to the church.
Yeah.
To correct them. Okay?
Okay.
But listen to the words that he's actually saying. Now, you're going to hear the word repent in it.
Yeah.
Repent means, turn away, change your mindset
Right.
stuff. So he says this, for though I made you sorry with a letter. This is what he said. He said, I know my letter was harsh.
Yeah.
He says, I do not repent. Meaning, okay, I'm not going to apologize for the letter. But then he says, though I did repent, for I perceive the same epistle made you sorry. So he's saying, though this letter made you feel bad, I'm not going to apologize. Watch this. For the letter. But I'm apologizing if it made you feel bad.
Right.
But that was not my intent. My intent was to help you change.
He's apologizing for the delivery, but not the substance of the letter.
There you go.
There you
But the way, you know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
it was a correction thing.
You can make a valid point, but make it in such a way that the point is missed.
Right. So he makes sure that it was clear,
Right.
even in the letter, like, hey, it's about to be some stuff being said. So I'm not going to say that I'm apologizing for writing the letter, but my intent is not to make you feel bad,
Yeah.
but it's to help make you change.
Yeah. All right. And I agree with
And that's
that.
how people ought to handle stuff.
And I agree with that.
Yeah.
And, this is a very interesting conversation.
Yeah.
And like I said, I think, and the funny part is the duality of the conversations we're having. Like, we're having the same conversation, but like I said, yours is more aimed at the people who feel the hurt as opposed to, and I'm making it more towards the people that
Cause the hurt.
Yeah. And so, but I do feel like the onus, once again, you can't be leaders and not lead. And part of leading is leading in apology.
Sure.
Leading in, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and like, you know what I'm saying? Because it cause and effect.
Yeah.
And you never know the impact. And it's crazy, and I want to use this as an example, and I know you remember this. There was a situation with me and my pops, and at the time he was going through some stuff, and I did not understand it. And I remember you said at the moment, because, some words were said. Yep. And you told him he is never going to go back to church. Mm-hmm. You're going to be the reason he never goes back to church. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Now, I'm my own person. I'm responsible for what I do in my actions. So whether I go to church or not, that's on me.
Right.
However, you recognize that the impact his words were going to have.
Sure.
And I think people need to be more conscious of that, especially if you're going to call yourself lights of the world. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? A light can do two things. Sure. It can illuminate and it can set something on fire. Yeah. You want to make sure you illuminate.
That's it.
And so.
And the thing is, the key is to always do a self-examination.
Yeah.
Always. And that's the you know what I'm saying? Because a lot of time, and as a leader, as a spiritual leader, there's times where I have to apologize. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes I have to sit back and say, if I was offensive to anybody, I apologize. That wasn't my intent. You know what I'm saying? But
that
you
makes
never
you
know.
Unique in my eyes, at least.
But see, sometimes some folks don't even know. They going about their daily routine not knowing, bruh, you offensive. You offended me with that. Yeah. But that's the thing. And that's why even for those that did do the offending, the one that was offended has to go.
Because I never
God and say, Father, forgive them, because they don't even know.
But I
they
never
don't even know what they did.
I never paid you as somebody who was so caught up in the facade of being holy and being righteous that you were incapable of apologizing. And I feel like a lot of people are incapable of that because they, we're going to talk about this later, but this is such a thing as church clout, where they get a certain position in the church, they have a certain reputation they're trying to uphold. Like I told you about a family member. Yep. Lord knows we didn't see that coming. Mm-hmm. So, you know what I'm saying? So people become so protective of that becomes the priority, as opposed to taking any real inventory to make sure that they are the person they pretend to be. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So, and I think as long as people take stock, I think we're good. But I think a lot of times that's not the case. Right. And that becomes a problem. But great conversation. I love the fact we got this type of conversation. Like, y'all need to get over that Walmart hurt.
Walmart hurt.
Like, seriously.
It'll get you.
Seriously.
Walmart hurt is written.
Like, come on, man. Go back to Walmart. Give them another chance.
Give them another chance.
Just because you've been to a couple Walmarts and they hurt you doesn't mean that all Walmarts are going to hurt you.
All right.
Find a Walmart that speaks to you. Yeah. Yeah. If you get my drift. Man, even if you don't go to Walmart, there's a Target. Yep. You know what I'm saying? There's a Kroger. There's a Myers. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but give Walmart another chance. Yeah. But on that note, man, like, I love this conversation, man. And go blue. Go blue. And hopefully y'all have a safe week, man. Go out there, be blessed, and good luck.
Put our banners up.
Hey.